hear the news reporters talking about how the Taliban has captured the presidential palace, and it seems to be like, wouldn't that be the one place that you'd put a bunch of bugs, like listening devices, maybe paint the walls with C4, just in case? I mean, that's kind of like the way that goes in on many levels of uh, politics, isn't it? Like, you build a building designed to protect you just in case you get attacked, but it's also built and reinforced to blow up if something bad were to happen. It just seems like maybe we're freaking out about the wrong thing here. Maybe we're not, really thinking too logically about this on the upside, or at least we're talking about it like it's like it's fucking terrible. And the rest of my brain that's always struggled with Afghanistan, as far as like it being a valid target for occupation, has been the argument of the support that was given to them in the 70s and 80s, or the 80s at least. And my youth was different, I guess. I'm Catholic, so it's not the same world, I guess, to some people, at least as far as my intentions and justifications for anything. I do observe a lot of this stuff, and I look at it and I think to myself, why the hell, is anybody this worried at this point in time? There's enough data and information and intel that's come about over the years to suggest that bin Laden may have been influenced and manufactured by one lone individual with an agenda all his own, or an agenda having to do with some other group unknown to us at this moment in time. So therefore, bin Laden just kind of being part of a larger, longer playing game at this point in time, which isn't a game. It's just part of a doctrine of Nostradamus and his quatrains and his predictions of, future events. And it's just, the ironies just keep stacking up. And it's like, how far can we actually stray if we all don't kind of look at that little tidbit of information, that little weird fucking speck, It's like that thing that people are picking out of their nose and they think it's a booger, so they flick it away, but it's actually just a little nugget of truth, and it's like shoved up your nose somewhere in your brain there, somewhere. This reality can change real quick, just simply with the observation of basic understanding of weird occult phenomenon, precognition, manifest destiny, so on and so forth. I mean, that's what Rumsfeld was talking about when he was saying that there are things that they know, things that they know they don't know, things they don't know if they know, things they don't know that they don't know, so on and so forth. These are all terminologies, the terms essentially, to explain to the people that something weird has happened, something that was predicted has happened. It was predicted during Nostradamus's time, while he was still alive. Things that we know is that we know Nostradamus predicted some type of event, and according to the quatrains, it looks fairly specific. Somebody or anybody, any kind of group, could have manifested the event, manufactured it in order to just fulfill a prophecy. That could be one side of it. The other side of it is that everybody involved in what happened on September 11th had zero to do with anything that had been predicted. There was no intrusion of influence involved in any of these people's lives. And if that's true, that's even deeper and more muddy and murky than you and I can even possibly fathom. And with something like this fucking ironic, and plus everything else that's going on right now. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but it's like the bad places poking us in the eye with a stick from time to time. It's all, you just check out, the news, and don't look at the news as being just like, oh, some stupid shit happened. Look at it with this mindset that shit is happening right now that is way too ironic. We're having a gun debate, right? The gun debate and racism and self-defense laws and the understandings that some people that deal drugs are really, really bad. Some people that don't deal drugs are really, really bad. Some people from other countries are really, really bad, and some aren't. Some people in this country are really, really bad, and some aren't. It's simple logic. It's like they should be teaching people logic in grade school so they don't develop into these moronical, just can't figure out the problem, can't figure out how to go from point A and move past point B that was all screwed up and go straight to C and continue on your way. People are hung up on these little tiny details that seem to just get blown out of proportion. People react poorly. I mean, just look at this COVID thing, right? The COVID thing, whether or not it's real or not, like we're supposed to be just kind of, abiding by certain rules, like we still had the ability to go to the grocery store. Nobody was keeping us from the grocery store. We could still go. There was no need to rush out and grab all the fucking toilet paper and get in a fist fight with an elderly woman over toilet paper. There was no need, for the woman in line at the Family Dollar the one day that I was there. When I asked, I was like, Jesus, it's like, that's a hell of a lot of toilet paper. And she got defensive, like I had insulted her on some grand level. And she's like, tell me how much toilet paper I could buy. And I was like, I'm just saying it's not edible. It's not edible yet. That would be the point, though. And that in a crisis situation like this, going out to buy toilet paper is ridiculous because you're making somebody else not have toilet paper. But frankly, in a situation like this, all you really need, instead of risking your fucking life to go out and get some fucking toilet paper, is a bucket, a bottle of bleach, and a washcloth or a fucking sock. Everybody's got at least a sock, a t-shirt, something that they don't, something they don't wear anymore. You cut it up and you turn it into your fucking reusable toilet paper and you wash it off in a fucking bucket full of bleach water. And you go about your day. You don't worry about whether or not you're going to get shot going down the street to get fucking toilet paper. And you don't just line up and while it's still in an outbreak stage, you don't just go out into public and hang out on purpose because you're like, fuck that, That's moronical too. They were asking us to do certain things in order to stay safe for very good reason, very specific reasons. Sure, there may not be as many people dying from COVID as they say. It has a very high sustainability, a very high survival rate. The problem with it would be its mutation. So it's mutation, then its mutation, and the complications that come from that, just like there are with any virus. I mean, come on. And now we're worried about who's going to take the blame for Afghanistan. What the fuck difference does it make? Let Afghanistan take Afghanistan because it's Afghanistan. It's not even in our backyard. Like our basement has more problems than Afghanistan. If you look right below the United States, there are more problems in our basement than there are way over there, over the river and through the woods over there where Afghanistan is. Like that is somebody else's fucking problem altogether different, and it's not ours. It's not our problem. I've said it a couple of times. If you look at what was attacked on September 11th, you start to slowly realize that on one side of this, it's like if they really, really hated us, they would have attacked, a mall or a Burger King or a McDonald's or some shit. That may happen. And at that point in time, it's still a ridiculous, senseless attack, who knows and who cares, and whoever they are, they've got personal business with people that flew planes into their buildings and killed people that work there. And that seems to me more or less what it's about. I think that's more of a genuine perception of it. Have I been affected by those things? Yes, very significantly. I've very significantly been affected by it. But I am not about to get on a plane with millions of dollars worth of war equipment to go to a different country, right, across an ocean to go enforce whatever the fuck can be enforced in a place like Afghanistan, because I've never been there. I've seen videos. I know people that have been there. And to me, it just seems like it's all a game to them. And that's what was conveyed to me, was that war is like a seasonal thing they do there. And they do it probably because they're looking at the same thing that the world is looking at in their own populations: overpopulation, lack of education, drugs, or not just drugs, but drug abuse and self-abuse and hedonism and all this other stuff. They're looking at the same thing that the rest of the world's powers are looking at in their own populations. And if we use that math, we'll slowly realize, but surely realize, and find this little kernel of truth, which is none of it is worth killing each other over. It's not. None of it's worth murdering each other over it. Even as a resolution, even as a solution to the grand scale problem of overpopulation, hedonism, and the rise of narcissistic and sociopathic and psychopathic personalities that are just running amok, right? None of it's worth killing anybody over it. It never has been, and it never will be worth it. The moment you kill one person, there's a line of people that will line up to kill you and your family, no matter what, because you killed this one person instead of coming to peace with it. Like, you could have come to peace with these people, you could have forgiven these people, you could have been good and decent about it, but you didn't, and then that causes a reaction, and then your family wants to kill their family, then that family wants to kill the next family, and it's a bunch of garbage. It's a bunch of maniac neurological misfires in the brain because people haven't been raised accordingly. They haven't been raised to respect one another, and they haven't been raised to argue in a proper fashion and to have compassion and understanding for their fellow man, because generally people are very, very, very dedicated to not letting what they themselves have already done into their heads to feel guilty. Right? People are prideful, people are arrogant, they are wrathful, they are like all of the deadly sins people are without even caring about it. And people, I don't want to hear about sin. I don't need to talk to you about sin. I can just tell you fact of matter that this is how people develop without the idea of these things, those things that I was just talking about, being sinful and deadly sinful. The reason that they're called deadly sins is because they are acts against yourself or someone else that cause death more than you need to know. Those things will bring death into your life, into your family, negativity, more sin, more actions that hurt you or someone else. It is just the way it is. No one's condemning you for feeling those things, for thinking those things, for saying something that supports it. Nobody is blaming anybody. Nobody is trying to fucking kill anybody for the thought, the word, whatever it is, your thoughts and what you've done and what you prepared to do, right? You just ask for forgiveness, and you have to mean it. You really, really have to mean it. And you can't go around persecuting people for something that they do that's a fault, right? That's a fault of what? Bad parenting, no religion, distrust, anger, right? Something had been done to them, somebody sinned against them, and then therefore they turn away from forgiveness and they turn straight into sin. And that's how lightning fast that happens in people's minds, just real quick. What is there to do at the end of the day, for people who have spent their entire lives becoming soldiers of either soldiers of fortune, righteousness, or goodness, or decency, and honor and respect? And it's like, we need to make those soldiers that have done that, those warriors, they have to become warriors of peace. That's essentially the concept that we need to grasp here. They're the ones with experience. They're the ones that have seen the disgustingness of war. They're the ones that have felt these terrible feelings. They're the ones, quoting a story from someone that I knew, that watch as the dog, the neighborhood dog, the feral dog, drags away the body of an infant child for a meal and just chews on it and eats it. Disgusting shit like that. Dead, finding all of that shit. And those guys are even worse. Like, they probably don't even care that they do these things. The ones that are leaving the dead bodies in the weapons caches. Those are the weapons, the severed heads with the genitals shoved in their throats and mouths filled up with dog shit and horse shit and human shit. That type of thing. Those are the ones that don't care. How do you stop something like that? I have no idea. I've never known how to do it. I've never known how to stop anything like that. It just seems like it's a problem better left to those people that know how to deal with it. But the problem with it is that those people are creating mindsets as well. So how do you stop that? I have no clue. Hopefully someday somebody decides that they know how to stop it, and somebody decides for themselves that they choose not to do those things. It's a simple choice. And we live in a world where it's like, if in Afghanistan, it's like, how many people in Afghanistan don't have guns but have their arms and their bodies? And it's like, why aren't those people just bum rushing this supposed threat of the Taliban, if that's what they really want, is to push the Taliban out, which I don't think they do, because that whole country is just war. Whether or not it's ISIS or the Taliban, they're more than happy to go to war with each other. They rejoice in the war. That's their pastime, and that's also a problem. It's a terrible problem, which is why I think you should just dose the entire population with something, because they are all bound and determined, at least most of the time, to have something inside of them, just like us, to destroy each other, to hate one another. Maybe not. These are false teachings. Well, you can't be totally peaceful 100% of the time, because people will come in and take your shit. I've tried it. It's been a terrible experience being passive and peaceful. It really has. It's gotten me hurt. It's gotten me more screwed up than I need to be screwed up in order to live a normal and decent and productive life. So I really don't know what to say to anybody about any of this. And I really don't have an opinion about war other than I try to stay out of it as much as possible.